we'll start the recording. And we'll do the AI summary as well. Now you guys see a recording pops up somewhere? Yes? Okay.
Yes.
Good. Okay, well, let's start. This is going to be exciting because talking about introvert and we're talking about excitement, right? Kind of doesn't rhyme, but it is, because if you are one, you'll understand a little bit more of how you can accomplish what you need to accomplish. If you're not, you'll understand us a little better. And you will know that we're great people, we listen well, and we take good notes, and we make good decisions. So you definitely want to learn about us. I'm one of those people, but I'm going to let the expert teach you about what a true introvert is and how they can prosper. Katrina, take it away from me, please.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Dave. Yes, I wanted to talk about the introverted professionals and entrepreneurs who want more out of life. So you might not be introverted or identify as introverted, but I'm sure you know somebody, because there are a lot of us out there. And introverted doesn't mean shy, but you'll understand more of that. But in case you identify as introverted, I wanted to ask you, how is that serving you? How is that useful for you to identify as introverted? That is really what we're going to be talking about, because I'm a life coach, and in coaching, we seek the truth, really get to the bottom of the matter. But many things can be true at one time. So you can be an introverted deep thinker who enjoy talking to your friends and love your alone time. And at the same time, you can be friendly and shy, and you can be helpful, but perhaps hesitant putting yourself forward and suggest being the person to help. You can be perhaps, or you can prefer listening, but then if somebody is listening to you, you can be extremely articulate and eloquent. So what I'm saying with all of that is, please let's not think in extremes. So I'm introverted, meaning that I refuel by spending time on my own, and I used to make myself wrong for that. So I was wondering, are you doing that too? Like, are you saying, oh, I should be able to small talk with people, I should be more keen to go out there, I should be the life and soul of the party, that kind of thing? Do you identify with any of that, or has any of that happened to you? Please go ahead and type it into the chat if you want to. I would love to know. But I used to make myself so wrong about just ordinary character traits about myself. And instead of making myself wrong, I just wish I could have thought, let me change it. Let me change what I don't like, and let me keep what I like. And that's really what I mean by getting more out of life. It's using everything we've got that serves us, and then changing what doesn't serve us, really. So if you're with me on that, I will just go into the depth of the subject. I'm going to talk to you about what introversion is, and what are you identifying with in what we think of as introverted, and then give you some ideas and strategies so that you can get much more out of life without believing there's anything wrong with you, because there's nothing wrong with being introverted. I mean, nothing whatsoever. It's only if it's stopping you from doing what you want to do that you have to take a look at it. So there are 4 types of introverts. There are those we call social introverts, and those are those sort of classic type of introverts. They prefer small groups and sort of quiet groups instead of those loud crowds. Then we've got what we call the thinking introverts, and those are our daydreamers. So they spend a lot of time in their thoughts, and they tend to be really creative, at least in their imagination. Then we've got the anxious introverts. So they want to be alone, not only because they like being alone, but also because they want to avoid people, because they feel shy or they feel awkward with other people. And the fourth category of introverts are what we call restrained or inhibited introverts. And these people like to think before they act. So they're not likely to make a decision on a whim, as Dave just told you. And typically they take a little bit more time to take action. And there's nothing wrong with that either. So typically, or most often, we are a mix of some of these things. And maybe you identified with one thing more than another. And if that was the case, I would love to know that. Yeah, Dave says he's not the life of the party. Yeah, but when I was young, I used to make myself wrong for that. I used to say, oh, I should be more sociable. Like I should be the one out there dancing in a crowd. So that is what we're trying to sort of overcome, that mindset where we are making ourselves wrong and instead using what's good about us. So if I can give you sort of a concrete example, if you find it difficult to socialize and you let this stop you from getting what it is you want to get out of life, I'll just give you an example so that you can see how you can change your thinking around it. And then, because my thinking behind this is, if you don't want to go out and mix socially, and that is stopping you in your career or in your business, well, let's try to change it. So I thought of an example with somebody who says, oh, I can't possibly go to Claudia's party. Claudia's having a party, but I can't go there because there'll be a ton of people there and I might not know them. There might even be dancing and people will expect me to joke and somebody might even make fun of me and I won't know what to say. And of course, if that is what you're thinking, you don't want to go. And maybe you're not thinking that, but maybe your partner is, or your neighbor or a dear friend. If they are thinking all of that, please don't blame them for not going to the party because, I mean, who would want to go to a party feeling all of that? So what you could do instead is to sort of flip it around and start opening up to seeing things differently. So you or your friend or your partner could ask yourself, on a scale of 1 to 10, so 1 being not at all and 10, yes, please, how much would I enjoy going to the party if 1, I wasn't expected to dance or to joke? 2, if I could just talk to a few friends and not sort of please the whole crowd, but just focus on a few friends. 3, how keen would I be to go if I was sure to meet somebody who shared my interests, like another gardening freak or somebody who would come mountain climbing with me? Like, I need a mountain climbing buddy. I haven't got one. Maybe I will meet somebody like that at this party. So if you had a hobby or an interest, I mean, how much would you enjoy going to any party, really, if you believed that you would find that buddy there? So it's about setting ourselves up for our expectations and not giving in to other people's expectations. So we believe that people expect us to be the life of the party. We believe that if somebody dances, we have to dance, right? We believe all these things, but how many of them are actually true? So I think as introverts, we often make ourselves wrong for not being exactly how other people are. And I used to, certainly myself, when I was young, I used to sort of come up with fake small talk. Like, I don't particularly enjoy small talk. So I would sort of force myself to do it, thinking, oh, this is what I must do because everybody else is doing it. So I would force myself to do it, not enjoy it, and really hate myself for doing it. So if you could simply say, I'd love to go to this party on my own terms, how much would you enjoy going to the party? That is a good question to ask yourself, especially as the answer is, I can. So I just talked about setting what I call a self-loving boundary around the party, which is when you say, excuse me, I just asked my husband to stop talking next to me. I'm so sorry. It was just really distracting, but let me get back to the boundaries. I told you how you could sort of set your expectations for a party, and that at the same time will put some boundaries around you where you won't expect yourself to be the life and soul of the party, but where you choose a few people to talk to, where you won't force yourself to dance to do anything like that. So really being clear on those boundaries before you go can be helpful. And what you could also do is to not create any situations where you get to, or where you start expecting you won't enjoy it, right? So please don't force yourself to do anything that you still believe you won't enjoy. Think about how you could enjoy it. So be that going out to parties, that was just my example, or be it in your business or at work. Please try to think differently about how it is you work so that you get to do it more joyfully. And that is really what brings me to my second point, which is all about that self-loving self-care we can shower ourselves with. Because, as I said earlier, introverts, they refuel by being alone. So if that is true, then how come we don't take enough of that alone time, right? Why don't we offer ourselves the optimal self-care? And I would like to compare that to a car, because if you've got a car, you know, you have to put fuel into it. So maybe you get the mechanic to check the oil and the tire pressures and all of that. And you don't really expect your car to run smoothly without that care. Yet sometimes as business owners, we sort of expect ourselves to just keep going on, right? Just keep producing, keep being efficient, just push ourselves, like, without thinking about the fuel, without thinking about, well, how actually am I expected to function optimally when I don't do anything towards it? And it's a little bit, oh, what I'd like to invite you to think about is treating yourself as one of those Olympic sports celebrities, right? Don't you think that they really take good care of themselves, and that much of their life is really spent thinking about how can I really nurture myself to be able to perform optimally? So thinking of that, it's very, very easy to schedule alone time, and it's really, really difficult to respect that schedule. So I would love to invite you to really think about, well, if I believed that this alone time is where I refuel, and when I refuel, I get to be at my best. I function optimally, like my car when it's well kept, like a sports celebrity who keeps performing optimally. Like, if that is really what's at the bottom line, well, let me just make really sure to do it. Does that make sense? Right? I also think that the more you sort of push yourself, the more you put yourself into those situations where it is a little bit hard for you, where it is stressful, the more you do that, the more time alone you need. So think about it. The more you use yourself, like, not to the purpose how you're meant to be used, but to a different purpose, the more it will take its toll on you. And in the same way you wouldn't expect your car to run without fuel, well, why do you expect yourself to? So those are sort of a little bit deep questions that I would invite you to think about. And if you don't think you're introverted, think about somebody you know, and maybe instead of being offended when they want to be alone, maybe you could think about, oh, they're refueling. So I think even in intimate relationships with our partners, it can be strange when somebody wants to isolate themselves, right? But maybe it's just what they need, right? So if that can be okay, if we can all be okay with all of us being completely different and just respect each other's needs, I think really the world would be so much of a more pleasurable place to be. So I would like for you to invite you to think about that. What are your expectations of yourself? And if you know any introverts, what are your expectations of them? So if you thought that refueling for you was the most important thing, what would be different? What would be different in your private life? And what would be different in your business at work? So I've just told you how taking really, really good care of yourself, the way you would take care of your car, is what is going to help you function optimally. And I've told you how setting those boundaries around your participation in anything, really, be it work or pleasure, when you set those boundaries, they will also support you to getting the most out of the party or the most out of the meeting or the most out of the negotiation or whatever it is you're doing. So when you think about you functioning optimally, it makes sense that you need to have that to have your work and business function optimally too, right? So when we're done here, after our meeting, I would love for you to sit down and ask yourself, what would be different if I was functioning optimally? So that is with enough sleep, with enough downtime, with enough alone time, right? And what do I want my business to look like? And what do I want my business to feel like? So these are sort of questions we have to mull over, I think. And I think we can set our subconscious mind to work here just by giving it that to think about. So you might come up with some very good ideas, perhaps not right this instant, perhaps not in 5 minutes. But if you keep coming back to it, I'm sure your mind will give you an excellent answer. So what I would love for you to remember from this is that if you put in the boundaries to protect yourself from what you don't like, if you think about how to look at things differently in a way that will serve you.
Hello?
Yes. And if, I'll just finish, and if you take so good care of yourself that you can function optimally, you can change really how you interact with people, how you go about life, and how you do business. So I hope that this has sparked some interest for you, perhaps not only for you, but for somebody you know. Yeah, so Maureen asks, could a person be both? Yes, we are often a mix of a lot of things. And what I did a TED talk about was not to over-identify with. So if you say, oh, I can't go to a party because I'm an introvert, or I can't go to a meeting because I'm an introvert, or I can't have an intimate partner because I'm an introvert, or all of that, that is really, really, really sad, because we can do something about it. We can change the way we look at it. We can get out there and practice when we set those boundaries, first of all, and when we take really good care of ourselves. And then moving on into life, thinking about what we really want our lives to be about. So it's not about living up to expectations or trying to be like other people. It's about, well, who am I and what do I want? And how can I have that with taking all of it into account? So I would really invite you to think about that if you've got a few moments. And if you know somebody who's introverted and you might get upset with them sometimes because they're strange, just think nothing is wrong with them. They're introverted. How cool is that? I can see Lawrence is saying a lot of things. Yes, quiet, the power of introverts in a world that can't stop talking. Yeah. So what do you
It
say,
was it
Lauren?
was a bit of an eye-opener to me because
Was
I'm
it?
more on the extroverted side.
Mhm.
So it's a really interesting view into the world of those that are more introverted and how to, as you said, work with them and understand why it is that they are not like you and how you have to change your approach when you work with them.
Yeah, but perhaps not why they're not like you, but how they're not like you.
Well, yes, but the fact is that many extroverts cannot understand why introverts are the way they are. Like
Yeah,
you
well,
said before,
do you know why?
they think there's something wrong with them.
Yeah, yeah. No, I was just picking on the word why because, I mean, I don't think we need to know why. Why am I introverted? I mean, that question just can't get answered, can it? So I avoid asking myself that question. But that's just my idea. So I would love any comments or questions. So yes, Maureen, we are often a mix. If I go back to the 4 types of introversion that we've sort of categorized people into it, I'm a mix of 3 of them. And I'm still a work in progress, right? So I'm still having to refocus and I'm still having to remind myself that going to a party can be fun, right? It can be fun when I really take care of myself and I make sure that I don't force myself to have small talk with 40 people whom I will never meet again, which is not fun to me. And I focus on people that I feel I've got something in common with and who want to really listen. And we don't have to talk about the weather, but we can talk about something I enjoy talking about more.
Okay, so Katrina, I think we're open up for questions, are we?
Yes, we are.
We are. Okay, maybe I can shoot one at you while the
Please.
others get a little warm. You mentioned refueling. That seems to be a big thing, right? And quite often there's some introvert like myself that just work all the time, and we don't really get the chance to refuel. What are some quick ways that we can refuel?
Some quick ways. I don't know if there are any quick ways because everything takes time, Dave. So I think another question would be how can it be that I deserve all this quiet time for myself to refuel? So I think we think more is more, and I think sometimes less is more. So if you work, not just you, but most of my clients are like that. So working will only have us achieve so much if we are burnt out, or if we are tired, or if we are dissatisfied and we're not functioning optimally. If we are functioning optimally, we can often get done in 6 hours what would otherwise take us 8 or 10. Right. So I think if we want to take good care of ourselves, we have to set the boundaries around work and say, these are the hours I work and these are the hours I play. And that is so easy to say, as I said, it's so easy to schedule in all that good alone time, isn't it? But it's so difficult to respect it. So that's why we invented coaching.
All right. Any other questions?
Sure. I have, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Karen.
Can I? Okay. Well, I noticed that in a classroom, when I teach children, I usually have about 35 kids in the classroom. And when I put them in groups to work together, there are some children that said, no, teacher, I don't want to work with anybody else. I want to work by myself. In the beginning, it was hard for me to understand why these children wanted to be alone. But then I realized that everyone has their opinion or thinks differently. And as a teacher, it was my job to respect that when the child said, okay, I don't want to work in a group, but at the same time, try to understand why. Now, the kids that work alone prefer not working in a group. They're quiet, they're shy, but they produce such amazing work. So I've decided, why not? Let them work alone. Doesn't matter. Also, there is also kind of like a bullying thing in a classroom where kids work alone. The kids working alone, the other, oh, you don't want to work in our group, you don't like us. I have to deal with that too. So it's kind of like sitting them down and using emotional intelligence. Okay, put yourself in the other person's shoes, in the other child's shoes. Okay, not everybody wants to work in a group, and that's okay. So I've had to use this to the advantage of being a teacher, or a disadvantage at times. Hasn't been easy.
Yeah, and I was a teacher for 12 years, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Well, when I was a teacher, I also felt that it was my duty to challenge children. So yes, you want to work on your own. How would it be enjoyable for you to try and work with others, right? So trying to motivate them by setting boundaries. So would it be okay to work with these guys if blah, 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 and then try and present it that way? Because as you mentioned, they will be bullied if they're different, because children bully people who are different, don't they? So I thought that my duty as a teacher was to not prevent the bullying, but to teach them how to cope with it and how to be themselves, all while being able to function in society, if that makes sense. So of course we don't want bullying, but we also want the children to step up and be able to defend themselves against the bullying. So
Thank you.
those are my thoughts, really.
Excellent.
Well, it's a brilliant question and brings me back to a time where I used to teach. And that's why I became a life coach, because I saw so much suffering. So
Any
yeah,
other questions?
Well, I don't think mine's really a question, but I had found out something about myself and you just gave it a name, restrained, inhabited, that you think and you don't make a decision on a whim. I didn't even realize what I was doing until I was working in an agency and everybody was confused. Some people thought I worked for this person and the other people thought he worked for me. And neither was true. We both worked under the president, the owner of the agency. So this guy came up to my friend and was very angry about something he thought I did. And he was yelling and carrying on, and I was not around. So when I came back, my friend told me what happened. And so I went off like a lunatic, to find this guy. And I found him, but he said, I can't talk to you now because I'm going into a meeting. He says, I'll let you know when I'm out and we'll talk. And that was the best thing that happened, because I consider myself not to be a fighter, because stupid stuff comes out of my mouth. And as soon as it comes out of my mouth, I regret saying it. So I'm better off walking away, thinking about it first, but I never thought about it as a thing. And so when I said and then when he was finished, I went into his office, but it had given me time to get some paperwork to show him that he was totally wrong. And in talking to my friend, I said to him, I said, it's a good thing that happened because I'm really not a fighter. He said, oh, yes, you are. He said, but you don't fight in the moment. You need time to really get your act together, and then you zing them like crazy. And so I thought about it, and I think I do that in my whole life with everything. Always. Which is one reason why I read my pitches, because I know I'm going to forget things. I'm not going to say it the way I want to say it. So, yeah.
Brilliant.
But it was
Brilliant.
interesting it's interesting to learn that about yourself, to find out these things that you've been doing all along that you had no idea they were a thing. That's all.
Right. Well, thank you for that comment. I think you're not the only one. Right. So
Well,
it's so
yeah, obviously if if there's a title to it, name to it.
That's right. And so Deep also says that he would like to know how to have interesting conversations at networking events. And I think many of us would. So I don't have a recipe, but what I do is I tell something that could potentially be interesting about me to other people. So there is a strategy where we just ask questions of people. And if you're introverted, it can feel a little bit overwhelming to have that interrogation going on. So what I find is sort of more soft approach is when I say like, I want to live in a chateau in the south of France, that's my dream, then some people will find that interesting and some people will find that really boring, but I can't tell, but I won't know till I've said it. So it's about taking a chance and sort of revealing something about yourself that is potentially interesting, right? And then not be afraid if it isn't really that interesting and the other person doesn't know what to say. So I like that approach, but I'd love to hear what your approaches are. How do you have interesting conversations, really?
Oh, I was saying, could you be both? And the thing is, I think this is before COVID. I had no plans for my birthday, and I thought, well, I'm not going to sit home on my birthday. So somehow, I'm not sure if it was a meetup group or something, I found a wine tasting thing, and I didn't know anybody. So I walked in there, had no clue of who anybody was, but by the end of the evening, I knew everybody. And the thing is, what was binding some of us together is I'm a Leo, and there was people there, their birthdays were just around mine. And so we connected that way because we're a lot of Leos. And I thought, oh, wow.
Isn't that just a sunshine story, Maureen? And I would be really interested to know what made you dare do that? How did you get up the courage to do that? That is interesting, isn't it?
Well, I mentioned to friends and everybody, I says, if I stayed home and waited for a friend to do something, I wouldn't do half the things I do. Because I don't wait around for somebody to go with me. Well, on Sunday, I asked a friend and she said, sure, she'll go for a walk. We went a walk along Harborfront. And so that was really great. But the thing is, I sort of sometimes initiate it. And I thought, okay, well, maybe she wanted to go for a walk. And she did. She enjoyed it. And so I just go up and do it. Like I'm a doer. Just do things, if something tweaks my interest, I just go and do it.
Wow.
And I don't wait around.
So that's how you get more out of life, right? You're not letting anything stop you.
Yeah, hey,
brilliant.
Sounds interesting. I just go and do it.
Brilliant.
In terms of the networking stuff, if you're going in an environment and you don't know what to say, I just ask them about their business. And they're usually quite happy to tell me about their business.
Can I jump for a sec, Dave?
Go ahead, Benny.
Yeah, I think it's important that whole issue of analyzing other people, that you interact with them. But the question is, since we're business people, the importance of it, when it's the most important and when you should put energy to it. And just to inject to you the whole conversation to you guys, I think it's important at a time of closing, when you need to close on a business or deal or whatever offer you have, then when it's important to know the opponents or the person that sit across you. If they're shy, they misunderstand you, they're not so sure, or the introvert. And there was the importance to us rather than in social environment. I'm not expert on social, and I wouldn't bring it to this group. But when it's come to business, I found through my years of experience, that was my issue, because my interaction is extremely short with my clients. It's in one time, I don't have much options. So I have it to do tick, 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 immediately to know and to place them in a frame. That's my part of it to add it to that conversation. Always remember who you're sitting in the front when you have to close and how to close your deal.
That's
good.
your contribution. Go ahead, Katrina.
I think that is also brilliant, Ben, to really where'd you go? To really focus on the person in front of you, right? And then just think about this person could function completely differently from me, right? That is always something that is possible. So we find it so easy to believe that everybody thinks the way we do, but then they don't. So that's what you're illustrating here. So thank you.
Yeah, well done. Any other questions? Okay.
Well, I'll just say something, Dave. Just when you talk about small talk, I mean that's a difficult thing, I think. And but a lot of it depends, I think, where you are in the world and what culture, what group you're in, what city you're in. It varies a great deal. I think somehow in the sort of Toronto area, well, it depends where people have come from, but I think it's a little more difficult. Sometimes it's much easier when you're in the, like we lived on Vancouver Island in British Columbia for a year and a half. And you couldn't help but have 30 or 40 friends within the first 6 weeks of being there. It was just impossible to not have that many. It was just incredible. People would just phone you up. So we're meeting at the beach. Are you going to come? It was just all informal. It was just amazing. But I don't find that, having lived for 30 odd years in the city of Toronto, and we know our neighbors, but and they're great and they help and do things, but it's not you don't really see them or just have coffee or something. So I think it makes a difference. Especially when it comes to that small talk. I think Sadiq just mentioned in the chat here that you can go and talk to someone at a networking group, say a few words for them, and then the conversation just comes to an end. Unless you keep doing what Dave said, asking questions about their business, and continuously ask questions about them, people a lot of times just don't have much to say. It just sort of seems to die out. It takes a lot of effort to keep it going. After a while, you think, what's the point of this,
That's why I sort of switched to the tactics of saying something about myself in the hope that they might relate to it.
Well, you could say, I'm an incredibly interesting person. Why don't you ask me some questions about me?
Yeah, try that. But what you said about neighbors and sort of being invited round and everything, I'm sure that really depends on where you are.
Yeah, I think it does a lot.
Yes, it does.
But I also think that we have to be the change we want to see. So when I go and live in a new country, I invite people round. Like I do things. I try to be where people are, because that's how I would like it. So there's always something we can do, of course. And I think the more proactive we are, the better. Or while setting those boundaries around ourselves, right? There's some things we don't want to do. There's some things we know we won't enjoy. So let's not do those. But then what would we enjoy?
So, Katrina, you are in a new country, right?
Yes.
So when you get into that new country, it's a different language.
Yes.
So how did you meet people? How did you get social in that country?
Well, when I moved to France, I lived in Paris. And as I didn't speak French, I didn't speak to anybody for 3 months. So, well, then you just start, taking chances really and trying to speak to people. And then you get invited to a party and then so on and so forth. But the hardest thing was really when I moved from Paris into the countryside, because there was nobody there like me. And so I thought, let me start a choir. So being a musician at the time, I started a choir. So all these people from the village came to sing. And so we had a choir, and then I got to know everybody.
Brilliant.
Interesting. You started it for that purpose?
Yes, because they couldn't sing, but that didn't matter. We had fun anyway, and I got to know everybody.
Wow. That's really stepping out of the box.
Yes. And that's why I'd say, now in my old age, I'm thinking, I don't want to push myself into uncomfortable positions. I want to first make sure how I'm going to navigate it before I sort of throw myself into a new situation.
We see your Mark is saying bye. He has to drop off to another meeting. Thanks for
Take
being
care.
here,
Thank
Mark.
you. Thank you for putting this together, Dave and Katrina. I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, fantastic.
All right.
Awesome.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Any other question before we go around the room and ask what you do for a living?
It sounds like Sadiq has some experience in doing activities or classes with people. And it is, I agree, a brilliant way to meet people and to interact with them.
Speaking of Sadiq and activity, let's post that link now, Sadiq, since your name is mentioned. Let me see if I can copy it. On Monday, we're talking about cyber security. And here is the link. Hang on. Post it to everyone. And here's the link for that. That's going to be, is it 5 p.m., Sadiq? There we go. So that's the link. Cybersecurity. That's going to be very important because there's people in your computer right now and you don't even know.
Dave, it's 2 p.m.
Okay. That's better. Change the link then to reflect 2 p.m. because it says 5 p.m. Okay.
Yeah, sure. I'll correct it. I think it's the time zone that I may have selected the wrong one, but I'll get that corrected.
All right. Yes. All right. So we have our expert, Kim, that's coming in to speak about that. So let's go around the room now quickly and say what we do, and then we'll pick something from Katrina's topic and we'll mastermind on it. So let's start. Well, I'll start with me. Leadership and personal development is what I do. The bottom line is to help you to get better. So I have a series of products and services that will help you along that way. One of my key product is financial sustainable product. And for that, we have a whole gamma of solutions to keep you financial stable. And so you can live a financial stable life. That's me, Dave Berger. Let's go to Sharon, our English teacher.
Hi, guys. Well, I'm an English teacher all the way here in Brazil. I also do a lot of translations from English to Portuguese, Portuguese to English. And Katrine, for me to meet people too, I started a dance class in here, and it was Indian dancing because it was so different in this region, and it was great success. So I do understand, I identify with that a lot. Thank you.
You guys are crazy to be doing those kind of things. I'm not stepping out of the box that far. Karen, come on up for me, please.
Okay, so I'm Karen Shaw, your personal storyteller at Picture This Photo Books, where I tell your personal or corporate stories through your photos. So book a free 1-hour consultation and find out how my books are different from the rest and how you can enjoy the Picture This Photo Books experience for years to come. My info's in the chat. Picture This Photo Books, where they're whimsical, casual, or formal, and always uniquely you.
Uniquely you. Saran, tell us what you do, please.
Hi everyone, this is Saran. I own a business called Doon Staffing in Cambridge, Ontario, and we provide all sorts of staffing solutions, but we don't stop there. We provide transportation for our employees, so they're on time every time. And this is how we are able to manage a sizable workforce. And in some of the regions in Ontario, especially, transportation is a big issue. So that's where we come in and take care of the stress of business owners. So again, Saran Kapoor.
Introverts is gonna love you. Lawrence.
Good morning, everybody. Lawrence Fox, Accounting Wizard Solutions, the extroverted online accountant who does bookkeeping and non-tax accounting for coaches, consultants, and creative types who'd rather have root canal than do their books. If you want a dull, gray, or boring accountant, please don't call me. But I am the guy to call when you absolutely, positively hate doing the books.
Awesome. Sadiq, unmute yourself.
Yeah, hi. Hi, everyone. This is Sadiq here. I'm just about to drop my son to school, so that's why I didn't want to disturb everyone. But I run a small IT and digital marketing company here in Richmond Hill, Ontario. My company is called Myrna Enterprise Inc. We provide, our specialty is web design, e-commerce, and IT services like upgrading computers. Yeah, that's about it. Thank you.
Wow, your son is big now, and last time I see him, he wouldn't even walk. He was in your lap the whole time. Wow, amazing. Maureen, come on up for me, please.
Hi, I'm Maureen. I'm a certified professional bookkeeper and I do taxes. And a lot of business owners do not know where they stand financially. We are almost halfway through the third quarter and they still haven't figured it out. Anyway, Maureen, bookkeeping and tax.
All right, bookkeeping and tax. Luz, come on up for me, please.
Hello guys, nice to meet you. My name is Luz. I am here in Colombia, but I am working for a spa in Canada. And now I'm helping that spa to create the sales plan, the marketing plan, and also I am promoting their service. All our focus is how the people who improve her health with a therapeutic massage, like aliphatic massage, aromatherapy, chaps, so different kind of type of massage, only focus to therapeutic purpose. We are creating a plan to help create awareness and help the people to understand why it's important to receive a massage in their bodies and improve their health with that kind of service. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for that. Ben Cooper.
Okay, I needed to unmute myself first. Okay, good morning. And Katrine, thank you for that nice presentation. It's an eye-opening for my generation a little bit, because we're not used to identify ourselves. We are just human. We live life. So all those ideas of being a furry or he, she, we, the is beyond me. And back to myself, I'm a retired almost home inspector, a property inspector, whatever you want to call me. And the rest of my whatever active life going to be, I'm promoting awareness of healthy living. Basically, your close environment, the environment that you, a person, have a control on it. And there's only one environment. It's your own home. You are responsible to everything from water to electricity to air, whatever you breathe, whatever you eat. So if you ever have a question, I'm more than happy to help a person to live better life. And again, Katrine, thank you for your presentation. It's important. People should be aware of those issues because a lot of us confuse and interpret that information a little bit wrong.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Thanks, Benny. Now, Katrina, officially state what you do for us, please.
I help introverted professionals or entrepreneurs get more out of life by coming out of their shell.
Getting out of our shell.
Yes.
All right. Thanks for that.
Scary, right? But it is possible.
And I want to say thank you for presenting us. We appreciate it. And we certainly did learn a little bit about ourselves or others in Lawrence's case. So thanks for that. Appreciate that.
Thank
big
you,
time.
Dave. Thank you.
So now we'll move in the mastermind, and we did run over this a little bit already, but we'll just run over it again, and perhaps in more detail. And it's the refueling. So maybe we can just go around the room and find out, how do you refuel? And I'm going to give all you introverts a little break by going to the extrovert first, because he has an answer already. And we have to think about it, right? So, Lawrence, how do you refuel?
By actively taking a break. Actively taking a break. This time of year, a couple of years ago, during the summertime at 10 o'clock, I started taking a coffee break. I go outside, I sit in the sun when there is some. I finish my morning coffee and I just take a mental break. And sometimes I actually kind of look forward to that. During the wintertime, I got all bundled up and I went in the garage and still drank my coffee outside while it was cold. But at least I got up from my desk and I took a break. The other thing is I'm a lark as opposed to a night owl. So I'm up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I hit my desk by 7:30, and I know that I run out of steam at 3 o'clock. It's taken me many years to figure that out,
3
but I just
p.m.?
naturally run out of steam at 3 o'clock. And so I'll get up from my desk and say, that's it for now. I'll go have a snack. I'll go have a nap. I nap every day, which helps me reset and recharge. You know, those Snickers commercials, you know, they say have something to eat because you're not yourself. And, you know, well, that's my wife turning to me when she says, you didn't nap this afternoon, did you? Because I get cranky like a 4-year-old. I take a nap. And then after that, I can sometimes go back to my desk for a couple hours and do some work. I one time was at a client, got up to leave around 3 o'clock. He gave me the side eye and I said, well, it's all done and I'm going home. And he gave me kind of a look like, what do you mean you're leaving at 3 o'clock? So I stayed and I did some work. When I came back the next month and looked at the work that I did between 3 and 4 o'clock, it was all wrong. I had to do it over again. So that's where I learned. I said, you know what? When I hit that wall, it's time to stop. And that's how I recharge. And then other than that, it's reading, watching TV, watch the Blue Jays lose another one, you know, that kind of stuff.
Okay. So, Katrina, that goes in your saying, get the proper rest.
Yeah, what is so brilliant with Lawrence's example is that he has recognized this and now he's doing the stuff, right? He's not pushing himself to work after 3. He knows he needs a break and he's doing everything to function optimally. And so if you're not doing that, I'll just invite you to model yourself on Lawrence, not by napping or whatever, but just really identifying, well, what is it that allows me to function optimally? And that's a little bit what we're talking about, right, Dave?
Okay, yes. So let's go to Maureen.
Well, I'm like Lawrence, I'm you know, I get up at 6 as long as I have my 7 hours of sleep, and then I do some work, and then I have lunch, and then after that I do things that don't require a lot of brain power, so that way I don't make errors or anything. It's just that I do better in the morning, so that's when I really get the work done. And then the afternoon is just you know, whether it's filing or whatever, it doesn't take a lot of thinking power. That's what I do. And then sometimes after dinner, I might spend an hour or two, like for example, you know, people give me bags of receipts. Well, what I do in front of the TV, or I underline in red the date, so that when I actually have to key it in, at least I know where to focus. So I do things that are mundane, either watching TV or whatever, or it doesn't take a lot of brain power.
I got you. Good. Thanks for that. All right. Saran, come on up, man. How do you refuel?
I'm actually a big advocate of naps as well, just like Lawrence is. I probably take naps every day. I don't wake up at 5, 6 a.m., but I do take naps. And I just try to like keep my weekends light, like every other weekend. Meet family, friends, energize, like to go enjoy summer. And yeah, that's kind of what it takes for me.
Awesome. Nap, eh? Nap again. Sharon, come on up.
Well, for me, I enjoy going to the gym. I leave my phone home And I take that 1 hour and a half to go to the gym and I work out. I meet other women who have the exact same objective. And for me, that's my downtime. That's the time I get to concentrate on me physically and mentally. And then when I return home after the gym, I have a meal and I rest a little. I like to listen to music. Sometimes my neighbors can hear me probably dancing. That's great therapy for me. When I'm really stressed or exhausted, sleep's a good option too, because there's nothing you can do. Your body is asking you to rest, and I do that. I work late hours because sometimes I'm working until midnight, 12:30, because my schedule is a bit different. So I really definitely need that 1 hour and a half to go to the gym and get my mental and physical state in a good way, in a good mood, you know. If I don't do that, I feel agitated, I feel itchy. uh, Sometimes I snap at my husband and my son, Mommy, did you go to the gym today? So yeah, it helps me a lot.
Work out that energy, eh? Interesting. Luz, come on up. Refueling.
In my case, but also I like to go to the gym. For me, it's so important to keep my body active. Also, I like to practice meditation, and now I used to practice Tai Chi. 2 days ago, I was practice again. I feel how my energy increase more. I think that kind of practice help my body to feel much better, and also meditate and read books. I think that those are my activities help me to feel more active, more happy. Yes, and that's it. It's like my routine to feel much better.
No napping?
Napping, not too much, to be honest. Sometimes when I feel so down, maybe I have to do, but no. In my case, it's more activity, so I had to move my body. And not when I read it, not too much. When I read it, it's only to put my mind in only focusing one thing. Maybe that helped me to improve my energy. That.
Okay, good, thanks. Mr. Cooper, do you even refuel?
I don't know. I never identified that as refueling. You know, each personality is different, introvert or whatever they call. But I have a good trick for it. If I really wanted to get back to life, I just go to my wife and ask if she wants me again to clean my table, and that's good enough. I'm going to get, promise you, so much energy. Oh my God! So that's one of my tricks to do it. But the truth, in a practical way, in reality, for the last, I would say, several years, I have my dog, and I spend time with my dog. He doesn't talk back to me, does not complain. Lovely time, the best time to refuel.
Okay, I'm learning. Karen.
Well, I don't really do it as a preventative. I do it when I'm so exhausted that I have no choice. I'm not a napper at all, ever. For me, if I know so many of my friends take these power naps, for 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 15 minutes. If I did that, I would be worse. My bones feel like jelly and I just want to melt down to the floor. So it doesn't help me at all. It's the reverse. But I find that if I'm exhausted by 3, 4, or 5 o'clock, I'll shut the computer and I'll go inside and I'll watch mindless TV. I'll put it on. I like detective shows, so I put the easy ones on where you don't have to think. And I'll watch, and I'll watch that for a while. But I found, interestingly enough, that, and I never really thought about it before, but my granddaughter got married a few weeks ago, and I was very involved in the planning of the wedding, and it was taking up my whole life. And so what I did was I took a break from work, which I never, ever do. And I took a complete break that for, I don't know, 3 weeks. And Dave even texted me, said, "Are you okay?" Because I didn't show up to any of the meetings. And I just left it totally for about a month, 3 weeks or 4 weeks. And I was inundated with stuff. So it's not like I was relaxing. But when the wedding was over and I came back to work, I was so refreshed. I came at it totally loving every minute all over again, like I did originally. So it was a big help for me. And I used to do that when I was in advertising, after a major campaign where I was totally crazed. I would take a mental health day. And one time it was so bad that I took a mental health week. And which I totally needed. And they knew not to call me. As a matter of fact, I had a big argument with an art director right before I left on my last day. And I felt terrible. And so when I came back to work, I went into his office and he said, "Oh, I'm so glad you're here. I knew you had to stay away from us." He said, "So I didn't call you, but I wanted to so badly." And so, yeah, I need that time away when I need that time away. Otherwise, I just dig in and stay there.
Awesome. You guys all have a system. Let's go to Sadiq before I go to Lawrence. Sadiq, resetting.
Thanks, Dave. To recharge, what I really like is playing sports. I am fond of racket sports and billiards. So whenever I play, I feel so relaxed, and especially after that. And another thing that really also is very refreshing is a walk in the woods, a nature trail walk. So that's really amazing and refreshing as well.
Okay, good. Thanks for that. Lawrence, come on in, please.
So I've been rereading Daniel Pink's book, When, which is a book about timing. I think I checked it out from the library years ago, but I had to return it before I finished it. And he has a fascinating discussion in there about napping and why we should and shouldn't, and to a certain extent, the optimal way to nap. And it is really, to Karen's point, about 15 to 20 minutes is the best kind of nap to take, because for most people, what would happen is if you slept longer than that, you go into a full sleep cycle. And that's why it sometimes takes you longer to get back up and going. There's another half an hour or 45 minutes after you wake up that you are still getting back into your normal wake up. Or if you nap for an hour, like sometimes I do, I set an alarm and I nap for an hour, because I've gone into a full deep sleep and the alarm wakes me up and I haven't naturally woken up, then I still take 20 minutes for me to get going again. So you might have a slightly longer nap cycle, which is why taking a 15 or 20-minute nap doesn't work for you, or a shorter one. You may want 10 minutes, sometimes even 10 minutes might work. He also interestingly suggested that for most people is you have a cup of coffee before you lie down for your nap, because for most people, it takes about 15 or 20 minutes for the caffeine to actually kick in. So if you take a 20-minute nap and you wake up, just then is when the caffeine will kick in and wake you up and keep you going. It won't stop you from falling asleep. I thought that was kind of interesting. But Karen, I also have to tell you, you sound like you work until you're at the point of having a breakdown or burnout, and that you're recovering from that.
Not as far as that, but close, when I'm just totally exhausted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not good either.
I know. No, I know. I didn't say it was right. It's just what I do. Yeah.
Interesting. So it sounds like for most of you, you have a system. I do nap sometimes, Lawrence. Sometimes that nap is my whole sleep for the whole night. I just take a nap and then I'm off to work again. But it is probably my weakness, that resetting part. because I don't really have a system that I follow day by day to reset. So it gets a little bit murky and difficult for me.
Yeah.
Katrina,
if you have a
shed some
chance,
light here for me, please.
Dave, take a look at the book where he describes everybody's peak and valley and how you can figure out which ones are yours.
Mhm.
And then you can adjust your working and schedule to work around those dips.
Well,
And
I know once I know the coffee thing that you mentioned, I do that a lot.
Yeah.
And I just keep working around the clock doing that. Katrina, shed some light here for
Maybe
me.
I'm older than you, Dave. That's why I can't work around the clock anymore.
Lawrence, do mention the name of that book. I'll be interested in reading it.
It's called When by Daniel Pink. He also mentions, by the way, taking a walk or a break in nature as being a way to reset yourself. If you can't do that, this is why some companies are now creating lunch rooms or break rooms with plants and trees and lobbies that mimic nature, because they help people to reset and to relax. It's called When.
Yeah, Katrina just put
By
it in
Daniel
the chat.
Pink.
Thanks.
It's in the chat, Sadiq.
Yeah.
So if you want, we get that to you later.
I got mine from the public library, so most of his books are in the library.
Let's get Katrina up. Come on up, Katrina.
I just wanted to comment on what you've been talking about, sort of the limit of burnout, because what will prevent that is if we take like preventive action and not wait till we are so tired that we can only sit in front of the television. And there's nothing wrong with watching television. I love YouTube. And the only thing is, if we're spending most of our downtime in front of the television, that's when we should perhaps ask ourselves, well, am I just sort of numbing out? Am I relaxing, or what is going on? And is there a more enjoyable way to relax? And by enjoyable, I mean a way in which I'm using my capacities, my talents, perhaps being creative, instead of just of wanting that brain to calm so much down that we don't feel the stress anymore, right? Because television is so good to calm down, well, depending on what we're watching, right? But to just make us switch off. And is there a different way to switch off? Not that we have to always be doing something fantastic, but just ask ourselves, well, do I really want to be watching that much television, or whatever it is that we do for ourselves that might not serve us in the long term, right? Because there's nothing wrong with watching television one day. It's when you do that day after day after day after day, that's when the problem comes. So those are just things to keep in mind.
Wow. Yeah, I better tell my wife that if the television is not on, she's not happy.
Yeah, but please don't tell her, Dave, unless you want a lot of trouble.
Just remember, Dave, a man alone in the forest is still wrong.
I'm thinking of sandwich, Lawrence, so I'll sandwich it. And maybe that way I'll get out a little easier.
Yeah.
Even a short break to a different place is a great thing, to the park or Niagara Falls, especially a water body is amazing.
That's an hour and a half away, buddy.
Well, it's well worth it on the weekend, even if it's 1 day.
That's not exactly a short break.
Dave, you can try getting a cat. I have 2 cats and they help me relax. Cats are amazing creatures. And they help take the negative energy. Like if you're really exhausted, they help calm you just by their purring. It's a good thing for you.
I won't tell you what happened last night. I almost killed a cat.
Oh,
Dave, my cat currently naps with me at 4 o'clock. And there are times he's come down to my office at 3:30 and 4 o'clock to look at me and say, it's nap time.
It's time.
Get up from your desk. It's time for us to take our nap.
Really? He's like an alarm.
Almost.
Wow.
because he says it's time for us to get on the couch and take a nap together. Why are you still downstairs?
Mm-hmm.
He also
Nice.
reminds me that it's snack time for him too. So
Okay.
Have
So,
you guys ever tried like a fish tank, watching a fish tank?
okay. That may help.
no,
Yeah,
then I fall asleep.
Well, a lot of offices, for that reason, they keep a fish tank in the reception because it's very calming.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I thought it's there in case they get hungry.
One of the agencies that I worked for, the original owner of the agency, the original partner, retired. And they took his office and they put a sofa in there and a TV and a game thing and a small refrigerator. One of our clients was Heineken and Amstel light beer. They filled it with beer. And what they said was, anytime you feel exhausted from the stress of work, just go in there. Nobody will question you. Go in there and read the newspaper, read a book, watch TV, whatever you feel like doing. Just sit there for as long as you need to sit there and then go back to work.
That's interesting. Saran is on the right path. He's paying for his employee to get to work. So you never know what else he might be giving away. We should all go work with him so that we can take some of these nice break and perks.
Yeah.
But guys, we want to close it off here. We want to say thanks again, Katrina. You've been very helpful and we appreciate you. And maybe you can close us off by telling us a little bit about your TED Talk and where to find it.
Oh, right. Yes, I was invited to do a TED Talk. And that what I wanted to illustrate with that was that, well, two things really. I used to be a musician, and I noticed that when I stopped being a musician and became a teacher, I became a lot less interesting to people. Because when we say what we do, people put us into a box.
Mm-hmm.
And as an artist, I was super interesting at a dinner party. And as a teacher, I was a nobody. And that really struck me, that this way of identifying with, like, for ourselves, but also for other people, right? It's so convenient to be able to put people into boxes, like he's an introvert, so I must talk to him that way, or she's a musician, I must talk to her that way. That is just for convenience. And we really have to be much more curious when we meet people, but also with ourselves, right? If we keep that curiosity going, we don't need those boxes so much, but we can let people be a whole mix of many, many things. And I found that really interesting to reflect on. Also, scientific research shows that if you tell children that they are brilliant, that they are intelligent, that they are smart, it doesn't serve them. So parents who are overloading their children with positive images of themselves, they're doing them a disservice. What they could be doing instead is telling them, when you work hard, you can do it. So showing them that it's not who they are, it's not their identity, it's what they do that will get them to where they want, right? So because a smart child, if they're smart, if they've always been told they're smart, in life, they will inevitably fail at one point, because failure is part of life, isn't it? So when they fail, they will have an identity crisis. Instead of just saying, oh, I failed, they will think, oh, does that mean I'm not smart after all? Have I been wrong? Were my parents wrong? Who am I then? And so they start asking themselves all those questions, which are really not very helpful. So that was what my TED Talk was about. So I'm sure I can find it on the internet. I'll just hop on and see.
Yeah, maybe give me a link if you can, and I'll send it out along with today's.
In the chat.
Awesome. Anything else, ladies and gentlemen, before we run out of here?
It's gonna rain today or no?
Say that, Benny? In the rain, you said?
Yeah, I'm asking it. It's gonna be the rain or no? Well, I mean, looking this crazy summer, huh?
It's in the forecast for this afternoon, Dan.
Oh yeah, thanks.
At least it was last night. I haven't
just-
checked it since late last night.
I'm just gonna share that screen that Katrina just sent. Which one is it? Is it this one? Oh, there she is. So you guys can go check her out live and direct if you wish. That's a little Scooby snack without the voice. So you can go and get your own voice. All right. Again, thanks. Appreciate you all. And
Thank you so much.
you are certainly welcome.
Thank
Have a
you
great
so
day,
much.
everybody. Have a
Thank
great
you,
rest of the day.
Katrine. That was
Katrine,
wonderful.
Katrine.
Thank you.
Is that the hard thing?
Yes, the heart. The
Okay.
heart.
I can never.